again. So I hope you're having a great weekend. This is going out Saturday evening, which means it's my birthday, but unfortunately I'm not in the UK to celebrate it, so a bit gutted there. I'll be over in Germany, kind of work related but a bit of pleasure as well. So I'll be taking part in a classic car event in Germany, so that'll be really cool. Tell you about that when I get back. The good news is I've got to have my birthday present early, so this is being filmed at the moment from a GoPro Hero 6, which is a present I asked my wife to get. Pretty pleased with it. Hopefully you can see the better picture quality. I'm filming this in 2K where previously I was filming in 1080p, so hopefully that'll bring out a bit better quality. But I certainly think the image stabilisation of the GoPro 6 really can't be beat, and I wanted one actually because I saw Mark got one. We put it in the Project Bolt race car and the images it gave were absolutely so superb. So I'm sure the camera experts out there and some of the vloggers will tell you for vlogging it's probably not the best camera out there, but as the sorts of things I do, I want to do a bit of vlogging, I want to do a bit of in-car footage, I want to put it outside the car. It probably does pretty well at all of those things. It certainly does very well at the action camera stuff. So yeah, just getting used to the settings at the moment. I've fiddled around with the sound on it for ages. There does seem to be some problems with the GoPro Heroes 5 and 6 with the sound quality. It's not great. I've fiddled around with some settings. I think I've got it working a bit better. We'll see what the audio quality is like. So like I say, really busy weekend this weekend and going into next week as well. So I've got all the bits here. I need to get PL back together again. I just don't have the time to do it. So I thought I'd just give you a quick update on where we are and show you some of the new bits I've bought and why. So kind of a bit of a parts haul with mini spares. First thing, not on the bench here, the first thing that I've bought is a new bottom radiator hose. The old one wasn't fantastic, it was just a little bit perished, so it's a brand new one. Yeah, like I said in the previous video, it's like an octopus. Compare that with a normal mini bottom hose, and yeah, that's very complicated. So yeah, it's a bit of a sod to change in situ, so I might as well change it rather than risk having it splitting later. The cylinder head's back from the machine shop, so I've done a really good job of that. I asked them specifically only to do a very light skim on it, just to clean up the face. I didn't really want to do any more than was actually needed because I don't want to change the compression ratio of the head. Obviously the whole car's, you know, spec'd from John Cooper's originally. The head's got 21cc chambers in it. They're 36 29 valves, and the car's set up to run that compression ratio. So problem is, soon as you start upping the compression ratio, you increase the chance of detonation. You need to run higher octane fuels. If you do get any detonation, it's really bad for the engine. So I always run super unleaded, so I could probably get away with a little bit higher compression ratio, but I would, to be honest, rather just keep it standard. Also, can actually be a bad thing raising the compression ratio too much if you've got a worn out bottom end of the engine. It can cause the engine to smoke, it can cause blow past the piston rings. Luckily with PL it's almost a brand new bottom end, but if you had a Mini with say 90,000 miles on it, you put a high compression head on it, don't be surprised if it smokes afterwards, or soon later down the road you have further engines in the bottom end of the engine because you just end up putting all that strain on the bottom end of the engine there. So like I said, a very light skim on it. Pleased to say they checked it with a straight edge. There was no detectable warping there at all, so it's not warped the head, which is great. Like I say, I checked the block, there was no warp there at all. And they actually took off only 0.003 of an inch, which if I'm correct, I looked on Google, is only 0.076 of a millimetre. That is a really, really small amount. I don't know how thick a human hair is, but it's going to be it's going to be around about that sort of measurement. So it was really just enough to clean up the face again. So we're clamping it down with new studs, put a new head gasket in. There's no reason, if we do that all properly, it should leak again. The only extra thing I've done when it come back from the machine shop is any edges, I've just gone round with a fine file and just radius them. When I say radius them, literally just gone round at about 45 degrees and just taken right angled edges off, and around the combustion chambers as well. Anywhere where you have a right angle and you're bolting it down onto something, it's an area for stress to occur. So just a very, very quick skim over, just with a file, 45 degrees, just radius the edges, and there's no chance of any areas of stress there. And you'll notice where the bolts or studs go through, actually they're cut, they're countersunk again, so you don't get any edges radiused on there. Just moving on, so we've got the new head studs here. They look a bit manky at the moment. They're not, they are they just come and they have a protective sort of wax coating on the threads so they don't get damaged. So new, they're high performance studs, new nuts and washers as well, because you don't usually get washers with the standard head studs and nuts. They also give you a nice little instruction certificate with it, which just explains to you about torquing them down and what to torque them to. So common misconception here would be, you know, you've got competition head studs, you've got a high compression head, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, I can torque it up a little bit more because I've got high tensile steel studs. That's not the case. In fact, it's the reverse opposite. So I think the standard specification for the head nuts, I think it's 48 to 52 foot-pounds. Don't quote me on that. It might be a little bit less actually, but with these I only actually recommend 45 foot-pounds. So yes, you could torque them down more. Yes, the stud is high tensile, so it will accept and it will clamp down more. But what you end up actually doing then is, when I was talking about fire rings that go around the outside here, I've got the new head gasket here. So the metal part, these fire rings, they actually squash up when you tighten down the head. If you over tighten the head, you can squash them to pretty much a knife point, and then they just burn out when the engine's running. So what else we got? So new set of HT leads, obviously water pump gasket, new water pump. So this one, I've checked down the inlet there, it's not got the same casting defect as the old one. It is got what they call I think it's a fibre impeller or a plastic impeller. Now I'm not actually a fan of them, really, just because I've seen too many cars where those plastic impellers have broken or they've come loose on the shaft and they cause all sorts of problems. To be honest, I'm the wrong person to be asked, because I've only ever seen them when they fail, to be honest. I don't see the good ones which last forever. The pump itself is lighter, obviously that being a fibre impeller, it's lighter as well, so that's allegedly meant to put less strain on the bearings, which does make sense. But I weighed the two pumps and the weight difference between the pumps was like 40 grams, and that 40 grams will just be in that fibre impeller, so I don't think that's a great deal. When you tighten up the auxiliary belt on that and you've got the auxiliary belt pulling it on it as well, that's a fair old weight in itself. So yeah, not convinced there, but anyway, new water pump just to be on the safe side. Like I said, it doesn't have the casting defect as well. New thermostats, so it's an 88 degree stat. It's slightly different from the old one, so I don't know whether you can see that there. It has this little pin in it. That is called a jiggle pin. Unless someone knows a different name for it, I know that as a jiggle pin. And all it's really there for is to help with the engine when you're bleeding it up, it allows a tiny little bit of water flow through when the engine's warming up, and it just, certainly when you're bleeding the car up, it makes sure there's no air bubbles within the cooling system, so that's quite good. You know me, OCD. So I painted up the water pump pulley, all the nuts and bolts which are going back on the car. I've painted them as well just to make them look nice, because I'm a bit of a tart. The only other thing I noticed as well, so I've got a new temperature sensor, like I said. That's the old temperature sensor, just comes straight out the housing like that. There was no washer or anything, but I noticed when I went to order it off Mini Spares are quite good actually, because you order something and it sort of says to you, you know, other people have purchased this, or, you know, have you sort of reminds you of bits you might have missed. And it says about this sealing washer in there as well. So that wasn't on there before. I don't know whether that's something Rover added later. I don't know whether it was missed off last time the car was worked on. But I've got one of them as well. I think that just goes on the outside there. And then the temperature sensor goes inside like that. So that's where we are with that. Let's just go and have a look at the rest of the engine. And nothing more really to mention here, other than same as the head. All I've done with the block is go along with a file and just radius the sharp edges, and again the bolt holes are countersunk, so the edge is already radius there, so just go around the edge, radius the edges, and just remove any chance of there being a pressure point or a stress point. So yeah, that's about it for this week, guys. Be back early next week. Hopefully I can start getting cracking on getting it rebuilt, and fingers crossed should have it all done by next weekend, but let's see how we get on. Thanks for watching, and catch you next week. Cheers, bye.